Welcome. Today I'll explain the basic of AngularJS. In the last tutorial, I have shown how you can map HTML with JavaScript objects. So let me explain that first. What we had done, there was a student form, and in the student form we had 4 fields: roll number, first name, last name, and department, which we mapped with the student function, or rather we can say student object. So that mapping was done with HTML field to the JavaScript class, and from JavaScript class to the HTML elements. So we have written JS object to UI function to transfer the JavaScript object's value to the UI elements, and UI to JS object was used to map the HTML elements value with the JavaScript. But as you can see, that HTML was a declarative, or we can say that is a declarative type of language, and JavaScript was put as on click, on body, on load, or in some onload event of the button to map with different objects. So as you can see that this is the structure of that HTML. So how we can replace this page with AngularJS? First of all, let me tell what is the importance of changing this. As we can see that we have model, view, and controller. So model is here the JavaScript objects, view is the HTML objects, and the controller is the view model or the presenter or the jail code or the behind code, whatever we tell, that was done here by these JavaScript functions, which was getting called from body on load or on the event on click event. So here, as you can see that this part of the data transfer from the JavaScript object to the HTML elements, if that part can be done by some kind of framework, then it will make our task a lot of easier. The data transfer part, or the data binding part, actually, if it is done by some framework, then it makes our job easier, and also it makes our code readable. So the complexity of data transfer is eliminated. So here actually AngularJS comes into picture. So how I transform this page from normal to the Angular? What I have done, first I have downloaded angular.min.js. The link is here, as you can see. So you can download here. So you just go to AngularJS and then download AngularJS. And after you download the AngularJS, then what I have done, I have put one split tag in the head section of my HTML. Split source equals to dot slash, means the current directory, and angular.min.js. And then what I have done, whatever JavaScript object creation and the function I have commented out, it's not required anymore. And the same thing, like body onload, that was one call I removed, and the button and its on click, that also I have removed. Now the first thing is ng app. So what is this ng dash? All Angular tags, the components will start with ng dash. Ng is Angular, and Angular Angular, and this n and g, that actually is being used for all the Angular tags. And if it is like ng dash, why the dash is used is that all the HTML tags are processed by the DOM. So when it will get something with ng and dash, it will not process, and the processing will be done by the Angular.min.js. So Angular.min.js comes into picture when the DOM is loaded, and thereafter it creates its own Angular object model, and when it gets the ng app, it actually creates its own structure to transfer the data from the HTML basic elements to the JavaScript objects. So you just have to give some ng app name. So for every page there will be one ng app, and inside the app I will have controllers. So the first section is actually transfers the data for one set of students, so it has one ng controller. So this ng controller is used for transferring whatever present inside this ng controller scope, so that values can be transferred. So here we have another form, so there is another ng controller. So this ng controller and the ng app, how it instantiated in the script, in the HTML head section, it actually first loads the Angular module HTML map app. So what is this? This is my ng app. So this module is loaded, and thereafter it loads the controller. So first ng controller is student1 controller. So for student1 controller, it actually loads and it sends the JavaScript object, or injects the JavaScript object student. So inside this it has one scope. So each controller has a scope. This scope is under the ng app, means the main app's root scope. Under that main app's root scope, we have scope for all the controllers. So for student controller also we have a scope. So inside that scope, all the models, we call it model, like roll number, first name, last name, and department, they are all the elements under that controller. So as we are transferring the data from the JavaScript object to the element, we will call as ng-model. So this tag is used for transferring the controller's model data for each and every field. So for ng model, so that ng model is actually value is transferred in the scope of the enclosing ng controller. So that ng controller, when the student one controller is initiated, that particular scope is coming, and inside the scope the roll number, first name, last name and department, those are getting attached, and that is how these values are transferred here also. The same thing is happening for student to controller. So these values are actually mapped with the controller's ng model with the JavaScript object. Now if we change something, or if we want to display what is the current value of that ng model, we can use this tag to display. We don't have to do anything, it will be automatically transferred. Means the purpose is to have a very smooth data transfer between the model and the view, which is actually done by the AngularJS in the declarative fashion. We don't have to write any JavaScript code like on click, or we have to transfer that value, to fetch that value by document.get element by id and then assign, or this kind of data transfer to and fro can happen by this framework. So let me first remove all these components, and then my fresh code becomes like this. It's very simple. It has only that function, means the JavaScript class, which actually is inside that controller. I have to just load that app first, and then I have to initialize the controllers. That's all. So only this part of code is used as a script, and rest of the things are made declarative. One ng app, and inside that in the form is ng controller and another ng controller, and for all the fields it is done by the ng model. So if I do this, then my data transfer happens, and to display this value we will use this kind of expression tag. So now paste it. So first it was like this when I was not using this AngularJS, and now I am using AngularJS. So the same thing, it is getting displayed all the values, and whenever I am changing anything, let's say I am changing the name to whatever I am typing, you see it is immediately getting displayed here. Means the data transfer is happening instantly and without writing any explicit JavaScripts. So that is the importance of AngularJS, and it has many other features, but in this beginning tutorial I have covered the basic things so that you can start off. The source code I am going to paste in the description of this video. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Thank you so much. Bye bye.